fishing. People, when you're in the mood, let's go fishing. Well, it's just me and you. Head on down to the fishing hole. Grab your hat, get your pole. Let's go fishing when you're in the mood.
Canadian Sport Fishing, brought to you in part by Rapala, premium fishing gear crafted from experience. Crown, protect, maintain, save. Ray Marine Electronics, Ray Marine, simply superior. Fast Fender, the easiest way to attach and adjust your fender. Easy Docker, docking made easy. What a gorgeous, gorgeous morning. That sun is bright. The fish are biting. Haven't seen this guy yet. Come on. Come on top so I can see you. That water is clear, just on the edge of the mouth. What a gorgeous walleye. Okay, are you gonna throw that crankbait? Here, I'm gonna put him right here on the gun whale. Look at what a gorgeous walleye. Does that look good with that crankbait right there? That one rattles. It's the RS suspending shad wrap. It's jointed. So let's just see here. He's tagged just slightly. You can usually tell that a fish is feeding heavily if he's got the front hook in his mouth. So this guy kind of hit it broadside. There. You know, walleye, even though they have like a hard mouth, you saw how easily that hook came out. Nice chunk. Look how thick he is. If you look at the back here, you'd get beautiful fillets off this fish. What a gorgeous walleye. Okay, so I'm gonna move the net out of the way. Always handy to have a net. And I'm just gonna hold him in the water for a little bit. Nice models. You know what? He's gonna take off pretty soon. You know, they say that walleye are sensitive to light. They are, but you know, here at Lac Beauchene, they can be feeding as shallow as like 5-6 feet, or even shallower, 3-4 feet. So when they're on the prowl, look at gorgeous colors. When they're on the prowl, they can go real shallow. You know, a lot of guys know the shad wrap because it's made out of balsa wood, but this is the shad wrap that's jointed, and it rattles. So here, can you hear the rattles? One big rattle. It's made out of plastic. This one dives down to about 12 feet. So when I'm casting it in to like 1 or 2 feet of water, definitely it's starting to swim. And a good strategy, because you can see all the trees here, even in the background, is to be out in that maybe 10-foot depth, cast in not too close to shore, because you don't want to get hung up, but watch out for these trees, because a lot of these trees are out from shore too. But I think it's a combination of that swimming action with that jointed body going back and forth, and the rattles. Very, very good lure to cast, especially early in the morning. You know, if you like wilderness trips, and maybe you like to drive because you have your own boat, or you don't like the idea of flying into a lake, most drive-to locations are more affordable than flying into a lake, obviously, because you have the cost of maybe flying up north or flying into the lake with a float plane. I personally like drive-to locations because I can take my own boat, and in some cases I take my pups River in Mulligan. And I find that you can find some really good wilderness fishing at places that you can drive to, especially when you get, you know, more than, let's say, 4 hours north of the GTA. So in this week's case, we are at La Reserve Beauchene, which is about a 4.5-hour drive from Toronto or the GTA, or about 6 hours from Montreal. And the roads are very good, even though the last part, I'm gonna say about maybe 10, 12 kilometers are lumber roads. They're in very good condition. Once you get to the lodge, probably the first thing that hits you is that the lake is gorgeous. There is no other residential area on the lake. There's no cottages. The only things that are on the lake are the cabins that are operated by La Reserve Beauchene. And what I really like is that the cabins are far apart. They're not, I've been to places where the cabins, you can hand a coffee through the window to the next person, like in some of the Kawartha lakes. Here, sometimes you got to drive a half a kilometer to get to your cottage. So you have total privacy, and you have your own dock where you can keep the boat, and you have everything that you need. Wow, beautiful. You know, we're out here just having fun getting a mix of fish, some pike, some walleye. And we checked out, look at this guy fight. We checked out this stream that's coming in here. And we were talking about if there's brook trout in there. And I'm casting a jig. It's one of the minnow jigs from Fishing Complete. And this guy was right off the break. Let's see if I can do this gracefully here. Man, he's a nice sized fish. And you know what? He wanted that minnow. Look at, isn't that a gorgeous smallmouth? I don't know if you can see that inside that yap. He inhaled that. The fish are so healthy here. I'm being so gentle with my friends here. There he goes, nice and quietly. This is the Fishing Complete. It's their minnow. You can see that it's got a pretty flat body. So it looks like a minnow profile. It even has a dorsal fin. And you can see that the tail angles up. So that even if you're going down close to the bottom, the tail won't get snagged on, you know, hitting rocks and stuff. It'll actually keep working. It's got a really tantalizing action. Look at these two plastic minnow imitations. They're pretty bright, even though they're a pearl color. The one on my right is pretty big. It's about 5 inches. You can see it has a flat tail, and it also has a groove where you can insert almost like a Texas rig, a plastic worm through there. This one is designed to be just twitched. It's really a soft plastic twitch bait in shallow water, and it works really well for walleye, pike, smallmouth bass. The other one that's here in my left hand is a little curly tail minnow that's designed to be fished with a jig head. Early in the year, I find that a smaller bait, a smaller minnow imitation on a lighter jig head and work close to the bottom works well. Later on in the year, I'll cast out the twitch baits, especially in clear water, and I'll fish them very slowly with an erratic action from side to side. In both cases, when the fish come up to it, they'll usually inhale them because there's not much to them. These work really well if you're trying to fish for fish where the water's colder or the water's clear and the fish are less lethargic. Even though there's so many species and lakes that I could fish here, for this week's episode, I decided to fish the Lake Beauchene, the main lake. And to people that haven't been here before, it's a big lake. You know, they give you a map and they mark all the shoals and stuff so you don't hit them. And then they mark some of the best spots for fishing. But I like to be adventurous, you know, and check for new spots. So my goal in this show was to get a mix of pike, smallmouth bass, and walleye. And they told me, you know, the walleye fishing isn't that easy because they haven't set up yet into their summer patterns. So you might have a hard time finding them. But you know what? We would fish an area, maybe 6 to 10 feet deep. And to our surprise, we would either get a pike, either a smallmouth or a walleye. So it was actually amazing. Closed captioning is brought to you by K100. We make water burn. Beautiful. Nice tail dance. Come here. Kind of hard to hold him in one spot. Mr. Bass, you beautiful fish, you. We noticed a lot of small fish on the surface here. So I don't know if these bass are feeding on those guys. They almost look like they're either small bass or small walleye. See if I can just lift them up by the jig. There. Tell you what, this minnow is working great. Pearl color, and it's on a 1/8 ounce jig head. There we go. Look at chunky fish, starting to get a belly. Beautiful. Okay, time to let him go. See if he goes back to that current there. Look at gorgeous fish. And what are you gonna do? There he goes. Beautiful. You know, I wouldn't call this a picnic, but this is really a nice picnic spot. I've got the current behind me, and I'm enjoying a snack. I'm a real protein guy. I like meat. So, you know, when you get beef jerky like this that's in slices, this particular one is Western Survivor beef jerky. It's the original flavor. A lot of times you get little pieces, you know, that come off it and stuff. So look, this is it here. This is the bits and bites and pieces. So I just take a few of these bits and bites, not too many, and I'm going to demonstrate this. You know, this is a lot of hard work. So I'm going to put them in my mouth. I'm going to try to put them like underneath my gum right here. The nice thing is that they're so flavorful that you can be fishing for like 20 minutes and enjoy the flavor. The tough part is that you want to chew them and swallow them because they're so good. You know, and it's almost like a salt shaker. You can throw this anywhere, like in your knapsack or whatever. Man, that is so good. Because, you know, when I'm out in the water and fresh air, it's very easy to get hungry. And if I get too hungry, I'm not myself. And I got to be able to focus. I got to be able to feel the hits, fight the fish, let them go, and just have an all-around good time. And having a little bit of either the bits and bites or having some jerky really helps. When it comes to catering to the fishermen, especially the ones that bring their own boats, by the way, if you don't have your own boat, they have really nice boats here that you can use. I think they also have sonars on them. They have nice swivel seats and everything. So it's not just like a car topper, 14 or 16-foot aluminum with just the benches that you get a sore back from fishing all day. So they do have rental boats, but a lot of fishermen bring their own boats. For example, out on the lake today, we saw everything from bass boats, you know, to full aluminum fishing boats rigged, and then also some of their lodge boats, which were really nice. If I was going to recommend one rod, you know, if you're going anywhere on a wilderness trip, or even if you fish close to home, I would recommend an R-type rod that's about 6.5 feet long, two-piece, so it's easy to transport, and that's a medium action, but with a fast tip. So what's important when you're using artificial lures is that you have a fairly stiff rod. So even though this is called a medium action, if I grab the line here, you'll notice that the tip is pretty stiff. What a beautiful fish. This is awesome. It's like 80 degrees. We're in Quebec, about 5 hours up from Toronto, well, 6 hours. Beautiful drive to come in here. Look at getting these beautiful smallmouths. Look, he's still got tons of energy. If he falls off, it's okay, but I'm gonna try lifting him up by the jig. There, look at. Oh. Try to keep him off the floor so he doesn't ding the aluminum. Look at gorgeous smallmouth. We've gotten so many of these fish. This one hit about 3 or 4 times. I could see him in that shallow water. They're so easy to see. Watch. Watch how clear this water is and how beautiful he looks when you release him. Go that way so they can see you. Look at my soft plastic minnow. It is twisted up. It is bruised. I had to bite off a little bit of it. So it's about I'm going to say almost an inch short. It's about 3 inches now. It used to be 4. It was loose down here, so I bit some of that off down there, but it's still working. Look at it. Lake Beauchene has a healthy population of walleye, but it's a very interesting population because Lake Beauchene is an oligotrophic lake. It has water over 200 feet deep and also has very shallow bays. And walleyes are really good at figuring out where they can get the most amount of food. So in the middle of summer, for example, they can be over 100 feet of water and only 10, 20 feet down, feeding on immature whitefish and other baitfish that are in open water. Those can be very frustrating to catch unless you troll, and you troll very early in the morning or late in the evening before it gets dark. In the spring, like the time of year that we're here, just pre-summer, they can be extremely shallow. So we actually found most of our walleye in 4 to 10 feet of water, which is kind of crazy because we had beautiful sunny skies and the water's very clear here. And sometimes when you look down, if you got sunglasses on that are polarized, you'll actually see fish swim by, and you can tell they're walleye because they have that white spot on the bottom of the tail. And believe it or not, if you haven't spooked them and you cast ahead of them, you can probably get them to hit. Raymarine Electronics. Raymarine, simply superior. Good sized fish. Again, they look smaller when they come up and hit it, and then they break water, and you can tell how big they are. This is like in an aquarium. I love it. It's not just that the water is clear, it's that it's shallow, so you can see everything. Come here, you beautiful thing. Come on, a little closer. Just a little closer. Just a little bit closer now, baby. Oh, got him. Look at that, a chunky fish. Beautiful smallmouth. I'm gonna let him go right here in the rocks where they love to feed and live. He is so beautiful. Just gonna extend him out. Come on. Let's see, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when I come for you, big bass? Big bass. You know, in the old days, we had Dacron line, you know, that black line. I'm going back now, you know, 70s or earlier than that. Then we started getting monofilament line, which you know, really elevated the sport of sport fishing. And now we have so many super lines on the market made of Dyneema and all kinds of stuff, you know, gore material. But some of the newer lines are the braided lines, which are very thin. They're almost like thread texture, so they're very limp. So they're very good because you can cast them really far. For the pound test compared to monofilament, they're very low diameter. So for example, 10-pound test braid is about the line diameter of 4-pound monofilament. So you can cast it far, it sinks well, there's literally no stretch. So using the new braided line is one of my favorite when it comes to fishing for different species of fish, mixed fishing, and especially using finesse presentations. The smallmouth bass here at Lake Beauchene are very healthy. They're very plentiful. I actually believe, even though they have over 30 lakes that you can fish, smaller lakes, that most fishermen that stay on Lake Beauchene at least fish one day or all week or 3-4 days for smallmouth bass because they're so much fun at any time of the year. Early in the season, so when you're getting up to summer, they're all along the shorelines. So if you see a shoreline that's got a rocky point coming out, or you see an island that's got broken rock, not flat, smooth rock, those are key areas to zero in. Oh, nice pickup. Fighting good. Maybe it's a bass. Oh, it's a nice walleye. Yep, look at this. It's a good fighter. Oh, come here. Nice size walleye. How's that for a nice size walleye? Just gonna get the hook out of it so you can see it. Here, look. Ah, beautiful fish. Nice and plump. Look at doré. We're in Quebec. It's a doré. Gorgeous. Are you gonna disappear? Beautiful doré. It's about a 2.5–3 pound fish. Come on, there you go, freedom. Rod Runner Canada, grab and go fishing. I was here about 30 years ago. Can you believe that? And I was fishing in here and we stumbled onto walleye. I was here with a group from Duracell, a hospitality group with a good friend of mine, Bruce McGowan, and we all started getting our limits of walleye. And it was in shallow water, but it was a little bit later because the lily pads, this was all lily pads in here. I love that drag sound. Oh, it's another nice walleye. Look at this one's bigger. Beautiful. And I see that jig head just on the roof of its mouth. Wow. I mean, fishing in Quebec is amazing. You know what? This guy does not want to come in. Oh, he got off. That's okay. That was a good sized walleye. Now look at, this is the bottom. We're in 6.5 feet. See my jigging stroke? That's my line going up and down. So this element unit is amazing. And because I'm not running the electric, oh, that might be a walleye right there. I might be able to hook one just underneath us in 6.5 feet of water. So that's my jig head is very light, but you can see these are the strokes right here of my jig going through the water. One of my favorite presentations is to use a plastic minnow. In some places in Canada you can't use live bait. Some places you can't use live minnows, maybe even not dead minnows. But I find that fishing a plastic minnow that's 3 to 4 inches long, if you work it properly on a light enough jig head, especially in shallow water, you can entice smallmouth bass, pike, and even other species of fish, walleye, to grab it. You know, we're docking our boat here. We're at La Reserve Beauchene, and I've got this gadget called the Easy Docker that's made right in Canada. And I wanted to demonstrate it for you because it's such a smart tool to use even if you don't have eye bolts or cleats on the dock. In many docks, especially when you go up north on some of the wilderness lakes, you know, they're good docks, but they really don't have the hardware. What I've done is secure the rope to the cleat, and now I've got the Easy Docker right here. And let me just explain the way it works. It's kind of neat. The Easy Docker is made in Canada. You can see that it's made out of nice galvanized metal. It's got this T at the bottom. It's got a spring, these 2 large plates that are like big washers, and watch how strong that spring is, pretty strong. So the way it works, you tie a rope to the eye at the top, and then you can see on this dock that the slats aren't all the same distance apart. So this particular Easy Docker is 1/4 inch diameter. You can get some that are 3/8. So all you do is take the Easy Docker, put it in between the slats of the boards, push down, turn it perpendicular so that that T grabs it, and you can see that it is secure. There's no way it can come off. Feels heavy. What are you, Mr. Fish? Wow, nice fish. Hope that jig head is in its mouth. Come on, can you turn this way for me? Come on. Okay, he's in the net. Isn't he a gorgeous fish? That fish, I bet you, is close to 30 inches long. It's got to be 28, 29 inches. Here, I'm not going to hold him out. All I'm going to do is hold him horizontal. What a gorgeous fish. Didn't have him out too long. Try holding him by the tail. Oh, he's got tons of energy. Look at how thick he is. No exaggeration. Man, it felt like I had a big carp on, to be honest with you, but there's no carp up here. Look at. You can see just in proportion to my hand. Look how wide his back is. What's he doing in 9 feet of water in the middle of the day, bright sunny day, crystal clear water? What a gorgeous fish. Mammoth. Are you ready to go? You're a female. You're a big female. Gorgeous female. I think it's ready. As soon as it starts, look at this. Wow, what a sight. I'm a real crank fisherman. I'm an active fisherman, and I love catching fish on crankbaits. And this week, targeting walleye, pike, and smallmouth bass, I fished crankbaits, but I found that the crankbaits weren't working so well. I had a lot of follow-ups and a lot of fish that were shy and that kind of followed maybe a foot or two back from my crankbait. We did manage to get a walleye and some other fish to hit it, but early in the year, crankbaits don't work as well as later on in the summer. So we found that the soft plastic imitations worked a lot better. But cranking works really well, and also topwater lures, but it's important that the water's kind of flat and that the water gets a little bit warmer, so up in the 60s or even the low 70s before the fish become really active. Canadian Sport Fishing, brought to you in part by Rapala, premium fishing gear crafted from experience. Crown, protect, maintain, save. Ray Marine Electronics, Ray Marine, simply superior. Fast Fender, the easiest way to attach and adjust your fender. Easy Docker, docking made easy. Now look, this is what I got it on. This tiny jig that I've been casting with that modified jig head. I've actually taken a 1/4 ounce jig head, cut it with my pliers, and made it like, I'm gonna say 3/16 ounce. And that hook is tiny. It's only about 3/4 of an inch long.